Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you, and today we have a stellar topic. We're going to talk about Aromasin versus Arimidex. I'm sorry I haven't done this video in so long. I had done it a long time ago, but this is one I kind of overlooked, but it's very, very important. Someone brought it to my attention. I was like, oh my gosh, it's not in the archive. So we're going to get that one pumping for you. But before we get started, big shout out and thank you to everybody out there watching and supporting the channel. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, like, share, whatever you can do. Feed the algorithm, feed the channel. We're getting bigger by the day, and it's helping me to produce more and more content for you each and every day. Also, today's video is sponsored by letsgetchecked.com, my favorite at-home blood testing company in existence. They are the best. I've seen a ton of you out there using them now and sending me feedback on it, and it's awesome, and I'm glad everybody's getting to utilize them. Absolutely amazing. Letsgetchecked.com. Check them out. They do at-home blood testing, and they offer so many options for you. They've got full hormonal panels. They've got male and female tests. They've got wellness tests. They've got sexual health. They've even got COVID testing. They were one of the main at-home COVID testings during the pandemic. They are amazing. So check them out. It's so simple. Go to the website, letsgetchecked.com, pick out your test that you want to order. Obviously pay for it. However, get 30% off with the code Gemelli30. Now, after you order that, they're going to ship it to you. You can get it overnighted, or it's standard 2 to 3 day shipping. So either way, if it's a crunch, get it overnighted, send it right back to them. Your results are quick, they're efficient. Not only that, you view them all online, but they have nurses and doctors that are 24/7 to help you out. Letsgetchecked.com, coupon code Gemelli30, save yourself 30% off. Now, let us get to the topic today, and let us talk about Aromasin versus Arimidex. I am going to actually start with Arimidex first, and we're going to talk about a little bit of background on it, what it does, how it works. Then we're also going to talk about Aromasin and compare them. Now, it's scientifically known as Anastrozole. It was developed actually in the early 90s by Zeneca Pharmaceuticals, but it didn't actually get released until the mid-90s, and that's when they came up with the trade name Arimidex. So, as most of us know, it's a really potent anti-estrogen drug, and that's known as an aromatase inhibitor. Initially, it was actually developed for the purpose of treating breast cancer in women. So that was the original use and development reason for it. Now, it's a non-steroidal aromatase inhibitor that helps to prevent or stop the spread of breast cancer, which happens to be stimulated by estrogen. It can also be used on men, as we know, but it can be used to actually treat infertility and to balance and kind of boost testosterone in certain cases, but it also helps to increase sperm counts. So definitely very beneficial. Bodybuilders or steroid users use Arimidex as part of their on-cycle estrogen prevention and during post-cycle therapy as well when they finished up running a steroid cycle. Now, the primary reason this is done is to help to reduce the amount of estrogen produced by our bodies as a result of the steroids that were being used. So, just a few common estrogenic side effects. We've got the obvious, the gynecomastia, which is the development of breast tissue in men. There is testicular atrophy. You can have a high-pitched voice. I'm sure some of you didn't know about that. Bloating and water retention. You could have a suppressed metabolism. Nobody wants that. Suppressed testosterone production. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants any of these. Unbalanced hormones. And the list keeps growing. So you don't want any of these problems. Now, we need to understand how Arimidex works. All right? It's really powerful, but it functions quite simply. So, as an aromatase inhibitor, it's going to work by actually blocking a specific aromatase enzyme in the body, which is responsible for the production of estrogen. And as we know, there's several steroids out there that convert to estrogen, and we've got to be, protecting against and control the side effects. Now, when the aromatase process is reduced, it means that the body's level of serum estrogen is going to be reduced, sometimes as much by 80%. Now, another thing that's going to prove kind of interesting for you is if you're looking to retain muscle mass. Listen, Arimidex has been found to stimulate the production of your follicle-stimulating hormone and your luteinizing hormone, which both play a pretty damn big role in the production of testosterone in your body. The more of these that we can produce, the more testosterone we can produce. So, we all know testosterone is an androgenic hormone. and it has extremely anabolic properties, which make it perfect for building muscle. Some doctors actually out there do prescribe Arimidex solely as a treatment for low testosterone levels, but studies found that it works best in conjunction with TRT, or testosterone replacement therapy. So at times, that's why doctors prescribe Arimidex on TRT. Now, let's talk about Aromasin. Now, when we're looking at Aromasin versus Arimidex, we've got to always look at Aromasin as the one that may be a little bit more stronger, and it's also known as Exemestane. Now, it also is an aromatase inhibitor, but the difference here, Aromasin is steroidal as opposed to Arimidex, which is non-steroidal. So what does that mean, Dylan? We're going to get to that, but I want just to cover the background. Aromasin was developed for medical purposes, and as a result, it's been legally available in countries all over the world. But it's only legal if it's prescribed by a doctor. So just so that we're aware. Now, I don't think many of us are really thinking about that, but just so you know. Now, it's kind of a newer thing that's been used in PCT more recently, and it's something that I recommend, and I've gotten to that in my other videos, but it was only made available on the market in the US in the year 2000, all right? So it hasn't been really legalized that long. Just like other AIs, like Arimidex, it was initially developed as an anti-breast cancer drug, and particularly in postmenopausal women. But it really showed to be extremely effective, and it started to be treated for more commonly, usage on the black market with steroid users. Now, this was due to the fact that it offered really strong benefits when it came to the prevention of estrogenic side effects, as many of us know. Now, more users started to use it as part of their post-cycle therapy. And I'm going to cover exactly why, like I did in my other video on the perfect post-cycle therapy. It works in a different way than Arimidex. So, Aromasin is actually going to inhibit the aromatase enzymes within the body, but it also can block aromatization just completely outright. So this means that it can prevent the formation of estrogen completely instead of just suppressing it. And that's always been my knack on Arimidex. For breast cancer sufferers, this is extremely useful because this form of cancer often feeds off of estrogen. So by preventing the formation and production of estrogen, cancer has nothing to feed off of. For steroid users, anti-estrogen drugs are extremely important to control estrogen on cycle and to help, during PCT with a multitude of aspects. Post-cycle therapy is going to help you to reduce harmful side effects that have been associated with aromatization and also an elevated amount of estrogen within your body. So it's important to obviously have your estrogen levels in proper balance. You don't want to have too much estrogen, but you also don't want to have too little because both can be extremely problematic. Listen, Aromasin can actually lower estrogen levels by as much as 85%. So you got to be careful with it. That's even 5% more than Arimidex. Does it make it superior? That's debatable. I prefer Aromasin, but I'm more estrogen prone. So it makes more sense for me. Now, like Arimidex, Aromasin is also able to stimulate the production of testosterone in the body by stimulating the pituitary gland in your brain. That's also responsible for the production of FSH and LH, which both play a key role in the production and secretion and regulation of testosterone. So, we know testosterone is androgenic and anabolic, and you can see why bodybuilders are, obviously keen to use it. And this is where Aromasin really shines, though, is during PCT off a cycle. So Aromasin has actually been found to promote and increase the production of insulin-like growth factor, or IGF-1. All right? No other aromatase inhibitor in existence can make this claim. So Aromasin is in a category all by itself. And that's my key factor on why I use it in PCT, is because of the increase in IGF-1, which plays a really key role in muscle growth and repair. So combined with testosterone boosting benefits associated with this drug, it's just perfect. It's easy to see why people use it during post-cycle therapy, because it really helps to not only keep gains and maintain them, but also with any sort of gynecomastia rebound. So that's why it's always been my preference to use in PCT over Arimidex as well. Now, just so you know, PCT is designed to basically serve three purposes. We got to protect you against estrogen-related side effects. We've got to regulate hormone production, especially testosterone, and then we've got to try to preserve as much muscle tissue as we can. So, depending on which steroids that you use, estrogen side effects could be pretty damn bad or not nearly as bad. When this does happen, though, any user is at the risk for so many different kinds of side effects, as we talked about: gynecomastia, hypertension, suppressed testosterone, bloating, mood swings, acne, hair loss. I mean, it's bad. We got to avoid this at all costs. Testosterone is the key steroid when it comes to aromatization, because many steroids are derived directly from testosterone. D-bol, prime example, and it's easy to see why post-cycle therapy is so important, as I stress time and time and time again. Different steroids aromatize at different rates, which is why each one is going to provide different slightly side effects, all right? But no matter which steroid you use, whether you go with, say, Anavar, Trenbolone, you should always, always, always run a PCT, no matter how harsh or how light that you think something is. Now, DHT-derived steroids, dihydrotestosterone, don't aromatize and don't convert to estrogen. So they don't pose any sort of estrogenic side effects. Bloating, water retention, gynecomastia, everything that we already discussed. Anadrol is the only exception. It's a DHT steroid, but because of the changes and alterations to the molecular makeup, it doesn't actually it doesn't convert to estrogen, but it has estrogenic side effects. But an aromatase inhibitor is not going to help in this regard. All right, it's going to basically do nothing. There's no conversion of estrogen. So this is where people generally go with Nolvadex or Raloxifene, and they found that those two are the ones that help with Anadrol use. It's kind of an anomaly. It's one of those things that most people theorize about and have, different theories that sound great, but nothing's really been proven. We just know there's estrogenic side effects there. It doesn't convert to estrogen. Therefore, an aromatase inhibitor is going to be nullified, and you have to go with Nolvadex or Raloxifene, an estrogen blocker. Now, what Aromasin versus Arimidex? Which one's better? Which one should you use? Well, without sitting on the fence too much here, there's really no right or wrong answer. It's all subjective based upon so many things. The user, how estrogen prone they may or may not be, what they're using in their cycle. Some steroid users will benefit more from Arimidex, others are going to benefit more from Aromasin. On paper, Aromasin is going to appear to be the better choice because it can reduce estrogen by 85%, where Arimidex is 80%, plus Aromasin has the ability to increase IGF-1, where Arimidex does not. But here's the other, you've got to look at these from both ways. If you are one of those people that, and I know people like this, I'm severely estrogen prone, but I know people that are not. In fact, they're very sensitive to even taking an aromatase inhibitor because it just completely crushed their estrogen. And it's not necessary. Now, you start running higher doses, pushing it a little bit. Arimidex might be the better option because it's not actually going to kill off the estrogen completely. It's going to suppress it. So if you're severely estrogen prone, I definitely think Aromasin is the better option. But if you're like the complete polar opposite, I would either look at Arimidex or even something natural like a DIM or something like that. But Arimidex, for me, it's not enough, but for many people it is. They both work. As far as PCT goes, I'm going to stand by on that one forever, that Aromasin is by far the superior option. Not only because of the IGF-1 increase, but also because of the gynecomastia rebound chances and its aid in that, where it would kill it off and Arimidex would only suppress it and allow it to possibly come back. Those are my, main reasons why. Just because I need something personally doesn't mean you do. But for me, if you're interested, you may or may not be. You may be like, well, who fucking cares? I'm just going to tell you anyway because it's my video. I do need Aromasin, even on a lower dose of testosterone, just because of being so estrogen prone. And I have a mental lapse if there's any sort of water retention. And anyway, I barely run cycles anymore as it is, and I never really run anything estrogenic aside from test anyway. Very few times have I. Once was on a damn accident. So, Anyway, that is Aromasin versus Arimidex. I hope that gives you a good, thorough breakdown and helps you to make any sort of decision that you may or may not need. In terms of dosing, standard dosing I can give you, but once again, it's very subjective for the individual. It's subjective to what they're using. You know, what you take on a very low dose of testosterone and non-converting to estrogen oral is going to be far different than if you're running high doses of test, D-ball, and anything and everything else. So, general standard dosing is a good way to base off of. For Aromasin is 12.5 milligrams every other day, and Arimidex is 0.5 milligrams every other day. But like I said, subjective. That is a standard dose, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's your dose. So, regardless, that being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli, signing off.